Evening all. Oh, that is very quiet. Why is that? Hello. Yeah, there we go. Right. A little bit later than I planned to. Had an interesting day. Nearly got arrested. Um, so first fight in 50 odd years. So that's kind of fun. Um, Less about that and more about doing some. There we go. Just delete that. Um, yeah. So main rotor. Spent some time last night on the links and this morning on the links. Um, so that's coming along nicely. Just a couple of pictures on the RKSL Discord. Uh, Getting to the point where I can start splitting things off to paint. So that's going to be cool. This is the current rotor, main rotor here, is the old one from way back when. It's incredibly low poly. So we're going to use that as a guide. Because again, I'm not, just like the tail rotor, I'm not going to go into mega detail, there's no point, but I do need it, or I do want it to be a slightly higher polygon than this. So I'm going to take the top of that as a reference point. I'm going to flatten out. It should be about 5 degrees. There we go. So that's the reference. Let's come down here and go whip main rotor. So obviously with a reference we can have a quick look, but I want to see if there's any if I've got any decent reference for the actual rotor post itself. I think these are just all walk rounds, so I'm not gonna. Let's see if we can. Oh, there we go. Oh, I love these. These res kit stuff are brilliant. Um, I've never bought any. It's just the pictures are fantastic. Look at that chaos. But it gives us a nice reference set to work with. So obviously fold it. That's the other thing that I want to do is make it so that there's an option to fold it. So these are obviously SDS printed, resin printed, which are very cool. I only have a filament printer. I don't think I can get down to that kind of that degree of quality resolution. And the ridges on the print would be awful. That is a really nice print. I wonder if they've actually got the PDF that we can download the instructions. Oh, what a beautiful thing. I love you resin kits. Look at that. It's almost like it was made for us. How cool is that? So, right, I'm just going to grab a snip of this. Nope. Let's redo that because I didn't grab all of it. Come on. Seaking. Yeah, you can see at top I've just retaxed my car for the year, so that's what all that's about. God, I love companies that do this. It's so much nicer to actually have decent information. So, main post, that's a spinner at the top. That's the swash plate. So I'm quite happy to kind of try and replicate that. That's really cool. I'm sorry. I'm a little bit shocked about how good that actually is. So let's go and grab oh, wrong one. There you go. Well, you can see a little bit of the UCAF stuff that's coming. Link's Legacy. Yeah, there's an Apache as well. Apache E. The man trucks are in. Protector's in. That's apart for the ships that are coming. So, main rotor post. I'll do a walk round of some of the projects at some point in the future, but right now it's not important. It's a bit of a distraction. I have no idea what to scale this to, so I am going to cheat a little bit and just bring a side view in and approximate. No, I'm not sure that I can actually. It's going to be interesting. See, that's going to be roughly the main rotor post. I'm using this area around here to scale. You can see on the main drawing. So if I bring this in, so all of that's going to have to fit inside of there anyway. So we're going to have to go down quite a bit more. So let's rotate this as well. So I'm guessing that's about right. So let's bring that ref main rotor in. Don't think that's a million miles out, and I'm gonna say that I'm gonna be happy with that. So let's turn that side off. 3 degrees is what it's settled on. So for the moment, I am going to turn everything else off. Because that's a tad loud as well. Right, so let's actually do something. So this center post here we don't need. I know it's spanning all the way through. But right now it's not a worry. So I am going to make this bit 16. It's my Discord's just updated. So it's a 100mm cylinder, just so we're not screwing around, doing it on all sides. I'm going to put it on the X center line, so we've now got that. Let's rotate it in the Z. You're not going to see much below this kind of line anyway, because it's all hidden. So I am not overly stressed about any of this below, say, here. I'm honestly still a bit in shock that we got a decent reference. Research matters, kids. My back is killing me. I'm waiting to see whether or not I'm going to end up with some sort of black eye. I got in a punch up with a friend of a friend who turned out to be an absolute asshole. It didn't like he was bullying somebody. I gave him a load of we all gave him a load of shit, and he said some things, and I basically tried to shut him down. And he came at me with a bottle. This is a social club pub thing, British Legion. There you go. And I basically dropped him on his arse. let's get rid of this. But in the meantime, he's actually managed to land a really good one on my cheek, and right, so that's the bit that we need. And it bloody hurts. But he went through a stud wall, so I think he's got the worst of it. Nearly got arrested. So that was my fun day. It's all on CCTV, fortunately, so it shouldn't be an issue for me. But in the process, I have nerve damage in my lower back. In the process of that, I am now in bloody agony. So I had to get a friend to drive my car, which I hate other people driving my car, back, and I have been loading painkillers ever since. I'm in too much pain to be high on this stream, so I am fully in control of my facilities, just not very comfortable. I'm sat in a chair propped up with cushions on 3 sides, and I've been moaning and bitching all day. Nobody's listened to me, so anyway, hope you had a better day. Let's go back. Sorry, I just unwrapped everything. Well, unwrapped one bit, as is my tendency. Right, so where are we? We're going to make this thing. So there is going to be 5 equally spaced pieces. So that's 72 degrees each arc between these. So I'm going to draw a box. Right, so that is that's going to be our prime. That is actually on the center line from the way these are drawn. So they're essentially in a star pattern. So that's the bit on our far left. So I know that is actually on the center line of the part, so I can get the right shape and position. Again, this is going to be under what you normally see, so we're not going to go mega detailed. So I'm going to grab that. So 62. Let's round down to a half size. So I've just drawn a single face there. Just not to worry. Let's go on the top. We're right bang on the center line. So I am going to go polygon extrude. I am 62, so that's 45 will do it. And we're going to widen this out to 200. Stick a bevel in. A lot of these details are just going to be more about me being a little bit so I'm just going to make a center pin for myself. A little bit OCD. Vertex join. So I'm making this a little bit so I have a center that I can actually snap on reliably, that's relative, that's local to this part. So I just want to do my usual trick of unwrap because it's going to make life easier to pick everything out. So again, you can see this, it's a little bit easier. That is that back face here that we're not going to use, so that's going away. I'm going to take that, select that edge. You can see the blue highlighted edge in there. I'm just going to stitch it. While we're in here, I'm just going to quickly unwrap everything. Yeah. I guess I can show you one technique or a couple of techniques for this, but because this is beveled and it is a pain in the arse to unwrap, I'm just going to select that back face, and you can see it comes out as a round there. It's going to be the same. Right. Bit confused by that, but okay. Thank you, Bookfest, for the retweet. Sorry, I'm getting messages on my phone. Right, so that's 16 polygons there. That doesn't really make much sense to me. So I'm just a little bit confused. Somewhere we've had a bit of an issue. Right. So this part is inside out, so let's flip it. And I'm missing a top face, so I don't know what went on there, but I've obviously done something wrong. So I've just copied and pasted the top and bottom face. Geometry, vertex, merge. Again, it will pay dividends if you quite literally go around and clean up as you go. You will not regret it later. I've got to stop saying it will save you a hell of a lot of time. Right. So let me bring all this crap in here. I'm gonna move my tool properties box out. So, oh, let's find out that missing bit. Okay, that's my little center mark. It's a bit of a random jump around lesson, but what I want to do, I want to show you is this. There's a couple of techniques you can do to stitch these together. If you need them to be bang on accurate, so polygon accurate, if you're going to, let's say, put a dimensional ruler or something on it, it gets a little bit trickier. I personally, in this instance, I'm either going to cheat and just bodge it, but that it then becomes a bit of an issue. I can leave it like that, which it's essentially its developed shape. It's literally the shape of each polygon flattened out and attached, or I can just straighten it out. The problem with leaving it like that is it takes up an awful lot of UV space. Can be a bit of a problem if it's in an area where some distortion is not a problem. We can do that. This is a very long-winded method, I must admit. Basically what I can do is if I split this, where are we? Cuts. So just grab that face, move it a little bit. So I have a couple of choices, like I said. What I can do is I can grab bits of it like this, and I can use a scale tool to straighten it up. And it just becomes a case of flatten and straighten and try and square each of these bits off. It's not hugely precise. The parts don't consistently line up in my experience. It's quicker, it's dirtier, it'll do. But what I tend to do with these curves is pretty much bodge, if I'm being honest. Is I'll split them out into individual faces. So what we're doing? So everything gets unwrapped, so it's consistent. And what I will do is I will then find the matching edge. So there we go, that's the part. So this is the main cylinder. So that's all the edges. So if I stitch those edges, they're now perfectly lined up. Again, move them all off onto one side. I can then just do this. It's quicker than trying to bodge it. It's more accurate. There's still some issues with it, with distortion and whatever. But I get better results with it. I found, for me personally. I've seen other people that have got much nicer unwrap capabilities and tools. There is, I think it's Rhizome UV. I've never learnt to use it. I did use their trial. Someone gave me a hooky copy. Didn't like using a hooky copy because it's not really me. And I did try it. I used the trial. Tried to get into it. Wasn't really seriously trying to learn it at the time because it was in the middle of a project. So I was too busy just trying to get something done. Right, let's grab that. So let's stitch that up. You can see we're now at the consistent width. So it's all joined up. So that's now properly UV'd. It's not hugely long-winded, but there's no quick, nice, easy unwrap tool that I found that works 100% of the time. But yeah, I know a couple of people that have got the predecessor to Rhizome UV, and it is very good from what I've seen. Some of the UV tools in other 3D tools are really good. I have never tried unwrapping in Blender, so I don't know what that's like. Duplicate, radial array. We've got 5. Sorry, I'll bring the toolbox in. 5. We're going to go in the y-axis. We're going to go 360 degrees round. Right. So these ties, again, not hugely worried about right now, but I think it might just pay for us to do them. Yeah, so bottom line is find the tool you're comfortable with, and if it works into your workflow, great. If not, don't worry about it. Just find a way to work, but try and work logically, because it will. It's something you're gonna have to consistently do, and consistency. Sorry, right. You're gonna have to consistently do it, because if you don't, across how you unwrap a model will affect how good the UV is and how good the model looks at the end and how much texture space you've got to play with. Bloody again. What you want to do is get as much area for in your UV, in the polygons of your UV needs to take up as much area as possible inside the UV space, so that you can get as many pixels, or as many pixels per meter as you can as possible at the best resolution. And if you unwrap stuff properly, you'll get a consistent polygon flow, and you won't end up with odd mapping features and whatever, as the game adjusts the quality of your textures. So let's quickly unwrap this. I'm assuming everybody knows what mint mapping is, but it's the game essentially will decimate the quality of the textures the further you're away you are away from the object. That way it is better, it has better performance. Doesn't have to process as much. It's effectively a reduced image to improve the processing rate of a graphics card. I don't know whether that's the right description anymore, but it's a way of improving performance of your graphics, so the textures being loaded in your graphics card, because there's only so much memory in your graphics card, and the higher people put like 4K textures in game models, and forget that 4K texture becomes uncompressed. It's like 300-400 meg or something, and it has to load that every time that somebody calls it, you know, the game calls it. And if you're loading hundreds of textures, at 4K, they just can't do it, and your machine slows down and starts to basically have a brain fart. And can't process stuff, so I'm just creating a center point for this. So I can then pivot. So it just gives me a point I can snap and pivot. And when I come to actually put this in the game, I've then got a pivot point that I can use, or at least a location I can put a pivot point in. I can use locators, but again, it causes problems, at least in Modo, with modeling. That appears to be twisted. I don't know why that's twisted like that. So I'm just going to do a 20mm 12 round cylinder. I'm a little bit baffled by why that appears to be on the piss. Unless I screwed up along the way when I was turning that. Maybe that was... Let's go into the right view. I don't want to particularly load all this in with masses of polygons, because again, remember this is the low poly that we're trying to do. See, before I bend that in, let's grab one side of this. It just makes unwrapping a little bit easier. If I unwrap it now before I start adjusting it, so when I come to shrink this in, to bevel this in, I no longer have to worry about like remapping this, about faffing around with getting the faces to scale and stitching everything together. So go geometry, duplicate, mirror. Turn that in the Y. again, simplified, we're not making this 100% mega accurate. It doesn't have to be. You are not likely to pay much attention to this in game anyway. My engineer's little tweaks are kicking off, so bear with me. I'm going to turn this 90 degrees. Could be that. Is that on the center line? Yes, it is. So is that. Sorry, my mind is leaking out of my ears and running away screaming, going, "That's not right!" Model set position X. Yeah, I am fully in budget and Scarpa mode at the moment for some reason. Yeah, something's not right here. Yeah, that's on the piss as well. Oh, for friggin' hell. Minus 0.2. Okay, that's, yeah. Don't quite know what just happened there, or where that crept in. I've got a couple of suspicions. Doesn't really matter. Right. While I have done 5 off the base, I'm only going to do that 1 for the moment. Let's go back and see where we are on here. So we've got 1 big bracket coming up off the back. Don't quite really get to see it, but it's the thing that keeps that big part together. So I'm just going to grab that. I'm going to geometry, duplicate, mirror. So if we just grab that face, it is going to be a bit of a budget and Scarpa, I'm afraid. Z0. I am just literally compressing these down to the 0 plane. Go geometry, vertex merge. So again, just going to quickly UV these bits. So there you go, back edges. Stitch that on. So looking at this, it's like a boss outer linkage. So I'm going to drop this, sorry. I'm going to put this on the 0 plane in the X. I only need 6 sides for what I want to do with this. Let's go 10 mil. 10 mil again. This is going to become our center marker, pivot, whatever you want to call it. So we can go back up to 12 on here. Let's do 30 mil. It's going to be 0.12, it's going to be 120 mil. Right, so what we want to do is I'm going to take that center pin. I'm going to put it roughly where I expect it to be. And I'm going to create a box or a plane. And that's just going to give me a bit of a reference so I know how far to rotate it. Because you're going to make this part in a vertical and then move it down because I don't want to faff around with work planes. So if I grab that now, go on here and use the rotate tool. So 62 degrees. Through what I want to do now is if I scale that down, that gives me the length of the part that I want, and I don't have to faff around getting that located properly. So I am just going to grab that cylinder, going to create a new object just so that I can cleanly cut some of this. Polygon slice. Do that again. I'm going to remove that edge. That gives me a face that I can then extrude. So that polygon there is good. So what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the side here and I'm trying to replicate this. If we go and look at the picture, you can see there's a little step in it here. And that steps inside, or steps the width down a few bits. So the outside bracket isn't as big. So front. So if I just come back to the right side again, right? So if I grab that band and come to the front, you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to narrow this down so it's a little bit like that. So I then need to grab those edges. Excuse me. I'm going to scale it up to that. So we have a polygon on top of that, so I'm not too worried about what I'm going to do next. Take the edges, and I'm going to bevel them around. Again, this does not have to be highly detailed. It's going to be in the main rotor, you're not going to see it, but it just needs to be, it doesn't need, it needs to be more than just a couple of blocks, in my opinion. Right. Motor's already done the work and merged those for me. So we're going to do this again. I'm going to copy and paste it. And I'm just going to move it vertically up. So this is now going to need a center pin. Just grabbing that. So I've moved it in the X, Y, and Z. So I'm just going to zero the X. I'm going to zero the Z, so it's just moved up. Again, we don't have to be perfect with these. So I'm going to make a little center tool there. 0.1, 0.015, 0.015. That's going to be 6. So it's going to be our bolt. You'd be surprised how much detail you... If something is too barren, is too clean, your brain kind of rebels. But if there's a little bit of noise and a little bit of detail in there, your brain shuts it out. Okay, so looking at that, I'm probably half of the diameter wrong again. Which, oh, duh. I screwed up. That's where that sensor should have been. Right. Yeah, if it's too empty, your brain goes, yeah, shit. If it's, so 62 degrees, we just move that. If it's too busy, your brain starts to drown stuff out, but it seems to be happier because it's no longer thinking it's missing something or... Right. Sorry, I'm trying to explain at the same time as trying to work something out, and my brain is not working. It doesn't work like that anymore. I have a plastic brain these days. I'm pretty sure it came from Timu at some point, and the rest of my brain was outsourced. Yeah, it's the uncanny valley thing. I can't remember what the actual proper term that game designers use for it is. I'm going to get rid of that. Actually, I'm going to get rid of that as well. I'm going to grab that edge. Again, we can just delete this edge. So let's do a little bit of unwrapping. Yeah, game designers, I'm kind of never been trained in it or whatever, but I'm interested in the psychology of games and things like that because of other parts of jobs that I've done in the past have been very game theory intensive, like some of the negotiation tactics and things like that are all human psychology. And when I was doing recce and intelligence work and whatever with the military, it was understanding your targets and realizing that, you know, what humans typically do and don't do, and what stimulus people react to. It's surprising just how little people pay attention, actively pay attention to their environment, but at the same time, if there is an absence of sound or an absence of stimulation, people immediately realize something's wrong. It's your hindbrain working, and it's something that people use in games or have used in games to elicit a response to that creepy feeling that you get in real life. Sometimes you get it in games, and that creepy feeling that they've worked very hard to give you, so appreciate it. Also, something that I realized playing a friend's game who's making this game, testing for him, and he hadn't put any music in, or or sounds or anything like that. It was all very much a mechanical sort of environment. Because there was no sounds, it wasn't anywhere near as immersive. It was surprising how much difference sound and music makes to an environment. So let's. I mean, my hearing's shot. There's all parts of me are broken. I am particularly well worn, but even I was kind of a little bit surprised by how much difference it made to me. I don't tend to play games with music because a lot of the music in the games I don't particularly like. but it does definitely, if it's done well, it affects the game, makes the game so much more. I mean, typically I tend to play sort of simulation stuff, and it's multiplayer, so you've got comms going and all sorts. The music is not hugely important. But Alien Isolation, the sound effects were mind-blowing. With and without it, playing without it, just there's no point. Right, so that's that ring. So we now need to make this top ring. And again, I am kind of replicating the plastic model kit scenario, not everything we need to do. I don't think I know I went looking elsewhere, but don't think there's really much of a good picture of the main rotor in any of this. Oh, I got some shit last night for waffling and for my waffle. I'm trying to make it interesting. If you don't like it, turn the volume off. I don't know. I'm sharing things that come up to me that are relevant, that I thought were just interesting tidbits. If there's something you'd rather I talk about or want to know, ask questions, and I will do my best to answer them. So I think that's the best picture I've got, and it is a bit of a rat's nest of mess and hell. So everything we've done is kind of hidden under here so far. So from what I can work out, at least what I understand, that's the centerpiece that we're not seeing. That sits on top of that and clamps these parts in place. So there we go. So there's these cylinders. Are antipose to that, but they sit at roughly the same radius. So let's go back into here. Sorry, into modeling. Let's create a cylinder. Again, we're going to go with a 12-sided, I think 75 mil diameter. And what I want to do just for the moment is I'm just going to copy and paste that, scale that out, grab this and move it up to that point. It's 405 mil. So does that sit outside of that area? No, so it sits inside of that, so it's going to be inside of the pitch. So it looks like it's going to be about there. How about that? That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Roughly the right size. I'm going to be happy with that. So again, something funny's going on there because there we go. I had I had symmetrize on. So I was messing with the UV. Right. Just so that we don't lose everything when we do a pack, I am stitching these together like that. So I know which bit goes with which now. So what I want to do is I need to make this star shape that joins all of these. So again, bloody model mode. So I'm going to go create a centerpiece. It's going to be a 10-sided bit for the moment, and it is going to be 165 millimeters diameter. So if I turn this now, because it's 10-sided, I'm going to turn it 18 degrees. It's 10 divided by 360 divided by 10 is 36. 36 divided by 2, because I'm only moving it halfway around, is 18. Polygon extend, or extrude rather. Let's go to the right. And grab all of that. Delete those faces. Geometry, duplicate, radial array. Snapping on, so we're snapping the center there. It's 5 around. Geometry, vertex, merge. Again, unwrap. So I'm just gonna Again, just thinking about saving UV space at this point and stitching everything together. So let's do that again. Let's go up there. See, I'm going to paint this in Substance Painter, which I'm going to guess majority of people will use. So when I come to paint it in 3D, it's really not going to make any difference how it's UV'd, really, apart from normals. But there's no distortion on that anymore, or there won't be any distortion on that. Let's grab that. So we could bevel all this and whatever. There's no point because it's that mess you're seeing. I don't really quite know how I'm gonna do all the hydraulic cables and things and light and pipes and whatever, but I don't know that I really need to either. I'll consider that another time. So what we need to do is do this offset bar here. So I'm going to copy that, scale it down. That is a valid point. You're not going to see the ends on here. We don't need these faces, other than to stitch that, and I'm not going to bother with that. It's 5 faces, so if I triangulate that, that's 10 faces that we don't need to draw. So if I just remove them, it's 10 less faces to worry about. Every little bit counts. So I'm just going to go right view. want to bring that in up to that height. So I've got an unwrapped cylinder. So what I want to do is I'm going to go in here onto slice, select the edge that I want, and I cut the rest of it. I've now got a perfectly unwrapped shape that is useful. So this has got an open end. I don't know that I need it to be, because see that boss there comes through it, and that's looking at this where that lug goes in. So I could potentially just continue that cylinder all the way through. Let's grab these. So that can go, I'm going to say 3 times the height. So if we set that to 300%, because it's a reasonable guess, that's what's coming. As long as that sits inside there. I'm not going to need the top and bottom faces. So if I unwrap those to be the right size, I'm going to go geometry, duplicate, radial array. Slap it in as 5. So, just to hide my crime of being a lazy bastard, because these lines aren't meeting up, I'm just going to scale these out. So, going back to my... See, that's my finished piece, so I'm guessing we've got another... Yeah, so they sit on top of that. Right, so we've got another square boss that we need to copy. That. And it needs to move on top of here, so... Ew. So my bosses do need a top edge, which is not a problem. So let's grab that. again, just doing a quick UV. I'm working out how things go on the fly. So there will be some forwards and backwards. Case in point. Just consolidating onto a single thing at the minute. Right. So that's our centre post done. What I want to do is focus on this piece at the minute that goes out to the rotor blades. So we're going to use this one. Copy it, paste it, rotate it 90 in the Z. Let's go back to the top again. I'm sorry about swapping between views all the time, but it is kind of necessary. We're going to squish that down. So that is actually a capsule, not a cylinder. So let's go to the right side. Cut that out with that lod. Paste it into here, or that layer, or mesh object, or whatever. I still think in terms of AutoCAD a lot of the time. So let's smooth all of that out. I'm guessing, purely guessing, that's where all that's going. Let's grab those edges. By the time I went to uni, AutoCAD was literally everywhere. It was like the entry-level package. I'd already used it for a number of years, at college and in the military. Used to use it for layouts, defensive planning, layouts and shit like that. And by the time we got to uni, which is a little bit later than everybody else, having already served in the Royal Air Force before, I waltzed into my university course and ended up being essentially teacher's assistant for the first while, because he didn't have to teach me anything for the CAD. I was actually helping out in the class. I got extra credit for it and everything. He was a great teacher, and I don't want to name him, but because the next bit the story I'm going to tell is a little bit risky, and he's still teaching to this day. He's not that much older than me. He's only like 60. But some of the my friends and I are responsible for some of the crop circles in Wiltshire in the 90s, and there was a toy in the 80s and 90s called the Big Track, and one of the jobs that one of the projects we had at uni was to basically program this converted Big Track using Pascal, which is a horrible language, horrible programming language. And one of the guys started doing like shapes with it in the grass, and this CAD teacher was very he had a fantastic sense of humour. Well, let's just say that. He was a pretty cool prankster. And someone said we could probably make some crop circles with this if we could get a big enough Big Track. So we made essentially a semi-autonomous crop roller. And I can remember being sat in a pub in Devizes, having a perfect alibi, knowing full well that this glorified Big Track, it literally was the control boards from Big Track, was rolling around in a field, and it drive the UFO nuts crazy for quite a while. So that's the inside edge. We had a load of fun. Every time I could see somebody talking about crop circles on TV, Ancient Aliens or whatever, it just makes me laugh. I think he's still going on Crop Monster, so I don't know how. I think the last time I was involved in it, which is about 20 years ago, 2004, I think I left Bristol. I think they were on Crop Monster 7. So, I started getting involved in this in about 93, 94, something like that. 94, through 93, 94, 95, probably, was when we first started doing stuff. It ended up fully assembled. We could assemble it in about 20 minutes, because we had to split it down to fit into a Mace Scirocco VW Scirocco, a Metro, and something else I can't remember. They were poor. They were all we were all poor students at the time, so it's good fun. I had a lot of fun at uni. I really enjoyed it. And the advantage of not having real student debt, because by the time that I finished, one, the RAF were paying for me to be there anyway, so I was literally getting full pay. But you could also get a grant. From the government for it, and that covered your, if you were careful, food and accommodation. Today I can't imagine, given what some of the guys I know that are at college are paying for accommodation. I think we used to get like 1600 quid a year, and that would be everything. Actually, no, sorry. But yeah, 1600 quid a term or a semester. Yeah, 2.5, 3 grand possibly, I can't remember. Right. So, yes, I pity you poor snoots coming away with 1,500 grand in debt. Um, 0.025. I'm now starting to wonder about what happened to some of the people I went to uni with. Nostalgic old fart here. I've kind of lost touch with a lot of people. So this is the equivalent of this sock buff gator. It's not hugely important to us, if I'm honest. So this is the fold mechanism. So that actually rotates and locks in. So what I need to do is we need to put a plate here. It might be an idea to bring the reference main rotor back in. just going to unwrap this. You can see some chaos when I merged everything. So let's just do a bit of clean up. Remember, all this is just a work in progress anyway, so things can change. So what I want... Sorry, let's go and look at the original. So grossly simplified earlier version, but essentially that's our big 5 cylinders. This is our post through. So what I'm looking for is something like that. Is what I'm expecting to put on the end of these. This will be a boss block effectively. So it's going to be, well, it's going to be this. Copy and paste 90 in the Y. I'm going to scale it up ever so slightly. Hmm. 110%. Let's go into the top. Alright, go down to 20. I'm guessing that's where it goes, I'm not sure now. Right, so why are you being really super sensitive? Absolute handle, there we go, that's why. So bring that out to 50. Let's start with this cylinder for a fresh cylinder for this. Again, I'm going to keep it at 12 round. So where we are is this boss here. It's essentially that controls the pitch of it's the center of where the controls the pitch of the rotor blade to make it go up or down, or to make the aircraft rise or descend. So what I want to do is shrink this back. Bear with me a minute, I need to do some housekeeping. Right. Copy and paste that, shrink that down a bit. Let's go back to our right view. So looking at this boss needs to be quite a bit thinner and quite a bit bigger, because it doesn't look like I've got that on the center. Don't know where I've drifted there, but it's not the end of the world. So I am going to take the end face off that. So, see, this is a rotor blade going out that block there. There's a pivot there of where it unlocks to fold. You can see this knuckle block, and it's this knuckle block that I'm kind of wondering about. Oh, that's interesting. It's now all on the bloody piss. So, maybe that 250 mil, 135 deep, 0.25 wide, and I'm gonna want 5 in there, and I'm gonna want 2 in there. So I grab bollocks to it, right? So roughly how wide is that block? It's going to be wider than the rotor. Or it's going to be as wide as the rotor boss. So I'm going to polygon extrude, and I'm going to get like an inverse E shape or a reversed E out of this. So, right, I'm going to grab poly mode, I'm going to triangulate them, so grab those 2 verts, those 2, and I can squish them down a little bit. I'm trying to see if there's a clearer. So it's this E block here that is part of this. So that is that pin. It's that pin there. you take that out, that should actually, no, that's the pivot pin. Sorry, that pin there and the pin on either side. If you take them out, you can swing the rotor blade back to fold it back in the appropriate position. A la this. So I don't know that I need to actually go completely mad on the inverse of this. So let's just quickly do an unwrap. Oh, excuse me. Let's make copy and paste this. I don't know whether you're watching this, Stu, but if you are, I'll give you a ring tomorrow. Just got a message from a mate, so he's saying that he's watched the stream, so I don't know whether he's still watching or not. Right, so I'm just going to pick the knuckle and what is going to be this boss. And if I just go into solid view, it's going to make it easier for you to see. What I'm going to try is I'm going to grab those verts, bang that up there. Helps for it from model view. Yeah, we can get rid of these back faces here. Again, something somebody asked me, well, silly o'clock this morning actually. Why not LOD as you go? There's no point, because you just need to redo it all again anyway, because we haven't got the final UV. So there's no point lodding or reducing polygons as you go and creating reduced polygon LODs before you do the UV layout. And the reason I'm triangulating now is so I can control. If I leave all these as just an end on, the importer will decide what sort of shape and whatever it is when it exports it. I don't want that. So let's get rid of that edge. So we can test whether or not this is taken properly by just doing that. So there we go. So, ooh, when I removed that edge, I must have destroyed it because there wasn't. Oh, it's probably because of the. Though, let's just sod it. Let's just do it. My back is killing me, and I am getting tired. So, right. So the trick now is to make an inverse of this. So essentially I need to go duplicate, actually no. I'm going to grab that. Is actually that a square? Yes it is. Right. So I can delete that. I'm going to grab that. I just screwed. Oh no, okay. Just say I've just screwed up. So I'm just going to delete that face, that face. Come on. Right. Cut, paste. So by cutting it, I've just moved it away from the verts that it was attached to and relocated it. So I am just going to rotate this 180 degrees in the y-axis. And I'm going to move that out to there. So we've got essentially these end shapes. Sorry, let's close this off. Go to edge, grab that edge, extend. This is not a professional operation. So again, unwrapping. So we end up with this. So let's call this blade boss. Pack that in. So you're unwrapped. You're unwrapped. You are not unwrapped properly, but you are unwrapped. They're fracking. Yes, I have been watching Battlestar Galactica. Katie Sackhoff has a channel, Sackhoff Show, and she's currently watching Battlestar Galactica for the first time with her husband, because she's never actually seen the series. She's only ever seen the miniseries, and she's talking bits of it. It's on YouTube, Sackhoff Show. And it's interesting, a bit of insider stuff. She has a Patreon where they actually watch it live, and she talks through the entire thing. I don't have a Patreon on. Don't wanna. Well, I haven't got the money to spend on that. I don't really have a luxury margin at the moment. I've not been paid for 3 months. Nature of what I do means you don't get paid very often. So it's feast and famine. And I'm about halfway through a famine at the moment. But yeah, it's interesting because she's talking about her experiences, and there's a lot of trivia in there, and you find out what the rest of the cast are actually like and things like that. And I'm a naturally sweary person anyway, and I have been spending time around kids today because a lot of it was meeting up with friends as they were moving into the new house, which is where I met this dickhead that took a swing at me. Took a swing at me. And he's unfortunately the boyfriend of a girl I've known for a number of years. So I don't know how long they'll stay together, because, well, I think today might have been the it for it. But she has lousy taste in men. Right, so looking at that, we've now got this casting before we can get onto the main rotor, onto the main blade. But I think I might just do the main blade first anyway. Because what we're looking at, if we go back onto our right view, that is going to be the top of the dome. It's going to have to be. I can't see another way. So let's do the dome. Let's go and take a sphere. How big is the spinner on this? So the spinner comes out to the essentially the bottom of that boss. So let's go with 500 mil. I'm going to go 24 sided just to make it a little bit rounder and cleaner. Right. So I'm going to grab the bottom half of this and go whap. Don't need you anymore. I'm going to grab the bottom verts of this. Draw an average. Join that. So you can see we've got 22 polygons down there. I'm just going to go on geometry, polygon, merge. So what we're looking at is I'm trying to get an under bevel. I'm not bothered about getting a sharp edge at this time. So I want to do that. And literally pull up underneath. And grab all of this. just turn the ref main rotor back on, just so I can get an idea of roughly the height. I'm going to go every other one of these now. These loops. Loop select. Remove the edge. So that's 193 polygons at the moment for the complete spinner. So I'm still not 100% on this, so mix the techniques to get there. That will do. So the top of these pots should be literally the bottom edge of that spinner. So there's a lot of polygon we can remove. So let's change the angle of the light so we can perhaps see a bit more. So yeah. So let's pull that spinner out of there for the moment. And what I'm going to do is just grab that loop and that face, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to UV it. I bet that surprised you. Let's grab the rest of it. I'm just going to UV that too. So got a nice bit of shape. So with that there, go back into the main rotor. So I now have a level. So I can just go into my model view again, and we're going to slice some bits off that we don't need. I'd sing Mac the Knife, but I can't remember the lyrics, and I can't carry a song anyway. Can't carry a tune. I'm bloody useless at that. Right. So it's these that we've got left to do. Well, it's this tongue really that we've got left to do. It sits top and bottom of the blade. We haven't made that. That sits in the bottom. I don't know that we have to because we're not going to see it. This goes back to how much we can see and how much we need to model. So you can see from the boss, we're not actually a million miles out. I'm quite happy with that. See, that's the tongue that would stick out. So let's deal with that for the moment then. Scale, considering it was just a guessed scale. 140, 40, 0.3. Zero in the X, zero in the Y. Moved it back 3.5 mil. Because we're a bit forward, I'm going to leave it there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to bevel this. And I can bring this in just so you can see. So 35 mil there. I'm going to go 2 on the round. I'm going to grab these. And then just stretch that down. So it's not the best picture. Well, let's go on here and have a look. You can see it's like a plate and it's stepped, so I wasn't quite expecting it to be. I thought it was curved, not round, so I'm going to go with that because my understanding of these is there isn't any sharp edges on them. Come on, main rotor picture. As is typical, I'm not going to get to see what I want, and I will find the picture much later on. Alright, doesn't matter. Right, we'll bodge it. Given the precision of these drawings, I think I'm going to go with these. So what I want to do... Oh, come on. Right. Double that. My back and my shoulders are literally murder right now. Right, so for the moment, that's done. What I want to do is go into a new object. Create a new box, which is the width of the blade. I don't know whether I can actually get any dimensions on. Seaking main rotor blade dimensions. Well, there you go. Individual blade length approximately 29.5 feet from the hub to the center, which is useful. Chord width 1.5 to 2 feet. Oh, okay. How nerdy is this? Let's go and get the Naka airfoil. So that is the profile of the Seaking's rotor blade. I don't want that. It's going to download a bloody SVG, isn't it? Yeah, sod you. I don't want an SVG. I don't want to faff around converting it. Come on, here we go. Save as Naka profile. Okay, so we're just going to ditch the... I'm sorry, I'm muffing at myself here how nerdy I'm being, but I am going to insist on doing this. It's silly. It's overkill. Right. So let's just change this so I know what I'm doing. Right. Naka profile. Uh, 85. So NACA, for anybody that doesn't know, is the National Aeronautics Commission of America, I think it is, or National Aeronautics Committee. I have to Google that now because I'm not sure. National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics. There we go. It's the precursor to NASA. They were the agency responsible for commissioning the Bell X1 and things like that. And they did a huge research set, data set for airfoils and wing flow, and we still use them today. And they invented a couple of things, low drag intakes, which are called NACA ducts, I so these are golden aqueducts. You see them on aircraft and some cars that take themselves far too seriously. And it's a low drag way to get air at speed in through like a radiator or a cooler without causing too much external drag. Because the way that the air moves over the skin, you create a very low pressure area, and it just sucks air in and doesn't disturb the airflow over the rest of the body of the wing, or the body of the fuselage, and therefore does not create as much drag. And it's a wonderful engineering, very nerdy sort of little factoid. And something that I will endlessly bore people about at air shows and museums and whatever. So I'm going to slide a few bits down. I am a very, very sad man at times. I freely admit it. It's the engineering that fascinates me and the science behind it. I think, again, this is a bit of an odd admission, but I have a thing for UFO lore because, and not that I believe in little green men or anything, or being, abducted. It's more that I know for a fact that a lot of real aerospace engineering gets confused or misrepresented as aliens, and I want to. If there are, I mean, oh, there we go. UFO and the Trump files. Trump saying he's going to release the UFO files and whatever. It's current, so I'm going to have a little bit of waffle. Statistically, aliens must exist. There's though so many billions of planets, and it can't be us. It can't just be us. Are they visiting? Law of probability, the distance, etc. It seems unlikely, but it's not impossible. And if so, I'd like to see the engineering. I'd like to understand how they're getting about. But if not, if it is stealth, if it is new tech, new human tech, whoever it belongs to, I just want to understand it. I want to see what it is. Let's just add a slice in here. Because the new stuff is cool. I was, I don't know, 16, I think 17, 18 maybe, I don't know, when the F-117 came out. And I was watching, it was everything that I could read about it, everything I could find about it. I was absolutely gutted when I finally saw it, because it wasn't a nice looking plane. I was expecting it to be something pretty racy and exotic, and it turned out to be an egg box. I didn't understand at the time that the egg box was the entire magic, and I can appreciate it for that. But I was expecting something like a bloody spaceship, you know. But when it came out, it was it was a low res image from a very odd angle, and it made it look like a very short plane, a lot shorter than it actually was. And you can see at certain angles why the F-117 looks very weird. Right, let's go back to the top. So we have our NACA profile. I've done is just massively overkill. It doesn't have to be like this in the slightest. I'm just being a sad bastard and actually using the right profile. It's probably going to end up with far too many polygons in this, but that looks to be about the right thing. Let's go back to here. Seaking main rotor. So 18.9 meters. HC6CR. Actually, 18.9 meters. So that's the diameter. So what's that? 9.45. And that is from the center of the hub. So 9.45, 9.45, 9.45, and let's go 360. So the drawing has it being a little bit too long, but that's fine. So I am going to extend this or stretch this down to here. So let's just grab the end of that. Now the first time I ever saw an F-117 in the real was 1990 when they actually 91, it would have been January 91 when they flew in to Dhahran Air Base in Saudi Arabia when I was there as a very young RAF regiment gunner. I wasn't the youngest person in theatre, but it was very, very close. But yeah, we saw them fly in. It was literally twilight, and we followed them as they taxied. Well, we tracked where they went and tried to go and have a proper look at them. We could see them in the hangar, and this is after their first supposedly recce op or whatever it was. I don't know. And they were because you got to remember it was like 45 degrees during the day, so the hangar doors were open, and you could just see inside. It's about a 2 meter gap. You could see these black weird things. It's very cool, and we got chased off almost immediately. Um, there was a steady stream of people coming in and having or trying to have a gork, and we weren't the first, and I'm sure we weren't the last. But when we came back and we were asked where we'd been, because had been for a wander, and we told everyone, and literally the entire bloody squadron decided to try and go and have a look, which did not go down well, and we were all told to stay the fuck on our side of the fence. But that was another eye-opener. Not because of the stealth thing, but same day. Actually, no, I don't know if it's the same day. It was probably the same week. We were there, and I mean, as a plane geek, the build to the first Gulf War was insane for me. It was just like, woohoo! I got to see things that I had never imagined I would ever see up close. We were watching C5 Galaxies come in, and I was in the back of, it wasn't even a Wimmick at the time, it was a series Land Rover, so it wasn't even a 110, with a cage, and at the time, none of the Wimmick cages were standard. There was no such thing as a Wimmick. You just had a roll cage, and there was a couple of different variants of it. And I was literally the idiot in full sunlight and, scorching sun, stood in the back. And it was a Gympie at the time, it wasn't a 50. And in full bloody armour, respirator bag on, because at the time we were worried about chemical attacks. Sweating my bollocks off. Drinking copious amounts, just driving around the perimeter of our side of the camp. And you got to see all the aircraft come in, and because we were a regiment regarding the flight line, you got to know a few of the ground crew and the pilots and whatever, and being a young, fresh-faced guy gets you places if you're curious and asking questions, and people tend to help because it's better than, or tend to spend time with you because it's more interesting than what they were doing, or at least more entertaining. And when you're on deployment and there's fuck all else to do, because there was no TVs, there was no internet, no phones, no whatever. This is 1990. Having something to just have a chat about is brilliant. And I got to sit in Jaguars, Tornadoes. The Saudis were really nice with their F-15s and whatever. However, they weren't really, the people flying the F-15s at that time seemed to be Americans, not Saudis. Or the majority were not Saudis. So, interesting bit of trivia. But then we moved further up, and closer as the war started, we moved, and I ended up like defending forward area rearming points and things like that. But yeah, the story I was going to tell was we were off duty, and I will say Hummers do not have ignition keys, so this is a key part of the story. We saw these C5s come in, and where we were, we could see what was being unloaded. And this C5 literally runs into the hard stand, and they couldn't come into the taxiway properly into the onto the apron because one, the apron was full of aircraft, and there just wasn't enough room for this ridiculously oversized C5 to come in. So we're watching it, and there's this big silver articulated lorry, big, you know, like Max Senate truck, pulls out of it, just turns the engine on and just drives out. And it was just like this mind-blowing, what the hell is that kind of thing. We followed it as far as we could. We borrowed this while we were walking, and there was a Humvee with like a cargo back on it. You know, it was like wood panel cargo space. So it was left unattended, so we just borrowed it and for transport. And nobody stopped us, nobody questioned it. We just jumped in, and actually it was my sergeant that did it. I just came along for the ride. I'd like to say that I did it, but we just jumped in it and buggered off and tried to find out where this thing was going. We kept cool sight of it, followed it in, and the damn thing turned out to be, it was unbranded, but it turned out to be a full burger bloody diner restaurant that he just unloaded. And that's the difference between America and British or European logistics and attitude. They brought an entire bloody diner like 7,000 miles across the world just so they could have a burger. Right, so we've got some bits we still need to do. But the blade is the right profile. Um, it is unwrapped. So there is quite a bit of stuff stitched to it. So we need to go to that. So let's call that what it is. Main rotor blade. So that's just doing a quick unwrap for this as well. Yeah, I arrived in, I think, August 1990, and all the way through to the end of the Gulf War, which I think was probably February, March. I think we came home March, April, and it was a weird, very, very odd experience. There wasn't enough accommodation, so we were bunking down in literally in making our beds between ammo boxes in a hangar for a lot of it. Certainly when we were on a Saudi base. There wasn't proper accommodation. It was nothing like Afghanistan or Iraq where you had tents and like latrines and whatever. It was just, we had, I think, like a dozen portaloos, porta potties, whatever you want to call them, plastic things inside the corner of the shed, and literally everybody was roughing it. If you were lucky, you could get a space between some ammo crates and put your tarp over the top, your basher, and that way at least you were out of, you had some shade out of the sunlight. A couple of the guys got crafty and constructed like makeshift fans. So that was an interesting exercise in field engineering. We had a flight sergeant come through who was absolutely horrified by this bodged together contraption. It literally would have, at full power, it was just literally, it was like a five foot, so what, 1.5 meter, something like that, piece of sheet metal that had been bent and twisted, attached to a bicycle wheel that had a chain on it, and that went to like a bike sprocket that then had an electric motor bodged onto this sprocket, and the way that it was overgeared, it went too fast. It was horribly dangerous, but my God, did it shift air, and it was brilliant. It was quite honestly one of the best MacGyvered solutions I have ever seen. At night when it was freezing, because it did literally go down to sub-zero temperatures, and it'd sometimes rain, and then it would like boil the next day. So when you're up to like 40 degrees and you're sweating through everything you own, this thing was an absolute lifesaver. But at night it used to shift the air around so well, because we had like one set of heaters in the middle of the hangar, and it just nothing moved, so it was a pretty fucking miserable existence. Right, so I need to get back and finish these actuators, but what I want to do is grab that. I've probably been waffling for far too long now. We're approaching 3 hours, so that might be when I get the end of this. So we need to do these actuators off the left, which come to the ties. So the left and the right. Let's focus. Let's get this done. So I copy, actually no, sorry, duplicate. Radial array. I'm dealing with this back edge, so I need to know where it's going. Bugger. I'm in danger of going down a massive nostalgia trip at the moment, so I will spare you that. So I need to be on the left side. We're just going to go into this. So we've got a block. It's 100 mil. 150. So that sits off of that boss on that side and connects out here. So does that go all the way to the end, or? So that sits to the end before the knuckle. Let me just move this where I can actually see it. Come on. You can tell I'm tired, I'm making mistakes like that. And hitting the wrong keys. Top. Eyes old. You see this is bending down, so problem that I've got is a polyflow one, so we're going to 50% of that. Gonna work plain on that. So what I need this to be is parallel to that. what I need is this box to sit over the top of that. I think I'll balls that up because looking at that. No, okay. So this, I don't know. So this should be a cylinder in itself that sits around that, or at least joins to that, and I don't know that that's... Yeah, I've balls at it. I got lost in... Damn it. So work plane that. 90. Work plane there. Top. I mean, all this is probably pointless overkill, but I could have just bodged it and scarpered. Just not me. So something's beeping in my office. That's the problem with technology. It's something beeps. You've got an office full of technology. If one thing beeps, God knows what the fuck it is. Trying to average, there we go. It's a battery low beep from somewhere. I just have a raft of battery powered objects in my... That sounds so wrong. That just sounds so wrong. Yeah, I just realised what I'd said, so... Yeah, let's not talk about that. So... Boss. Even I'm getting lost and losing orientation here. Oh, Jesus, come on. Right. So let's start this again. So let's get rid of that, because that is no longer needed. Let's get rid of the background clutter. I really don't want to get too deep into some of this. Already spending a bit too much time and polygons on this. It's not the one. That's the one. Let's go back to this. top. Geometry, duplicate, radial array. Right. So, I think so if I do this properly, which is a big if at the moment. So let's grab that. So I want sorry, I'm trying to work out what actually spends and what stays. Right, that stays, which means that is geometry, duplicate, radial array. Let's not bother with the space mouse, let's just do the zoomy zoom. Which is also completely balked. So, main rotor. Geometry, duplicate, radial array. So, if I turn all this other crap on, come back to again, going to use the center point up here. I think it was like 3 degrees. So that's 5, that's 3. Let's see where that lines up. Yeah, 3 lines up about right. So, if I turn the floor on, it gets a little bit easier to see. Yikes. So, let's swap the material on these. To, is it rotor blades or something? I don't know why it gets trail rotor in there, but Swap that, change that in a bit. Right, we have what a Seaking looks kind of like a Seaking. Not entirely unhappy. It's taking longer than I planned to, but I think that's part of the course, certainly on this project anyway. Bloody zoom. Trying to get a right. I was trying to get a nice centered image. Helps if the bloody space mouse cooperates, but it also helps you get it in the right orientation. So you can see what I mean, hopefully, in a second, about not needing to do anything below that plate because you're not going to see it. Assume this. Right. You can't see below it, and this thing is going to have a grill on it, which is going to be semi-transparent. You're not going to see it, so it's faces that do not need to be rendered. When this is baked, what I can do. No point. No, there's a nice little 1 mil round on there now. 2. Excuse me. I was going to say, when this is baked, it will obviously have all the details and stuff on it. At the moment, it doesn't need it. Again, purely low poly. I think there's more than enough going on in there once the texture's baked and painted for it to be credible. There are the blocks there for the rotor fold, which we will also sort. Right now, for the low poly, I'm happy with that. And at 3 hours in, I am busting for a pee. So we are actually 3 hours 21 minutes in. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me and listening to me waffle and start a thought and not finish it. If there's any thoughts you'd like me to finish, let me know. Thank you for the guys that have reached out on Discord to ask questions or just generally say thank you or whatever. Some people are enjoying it. Some people are finding my waffles interesting, amusing, or annoying. I am just trying to make them a little bit less dead air and maybe share some stories and bits or share some tips and tricks. I don't know. All this entire series was about showing people how I do things. I'm not ever going to say that my way is the only way or the best way. It is just one way. And it works for me after some trial and error. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, if there is much left of it, 20 minutes. So thank you very much. See you again, and I will be back at it tomorrow. Have fun.